The rain was a traitor, soaking through my jacket, betraying the tremble in my hands as I stood in the alley behind the Black Orchid Club. My heart slammed against my ribs, each beat screaming run. But my feet stayed glued to the pavement, pinned by the weight of his gaze. Vincent DeLuca, the most dangerous man in Chicago, and the only one who could unravel me with a single look. I was supposed to be invisible, a shadow in his world. But tonight, his eyes held me like I was the only thing that mattered. I wasn't born for this life. My name, at least the one I gave him, was Eli Carter, a nobody bartender who poured whiskey for mobsters and kept his head down. But the real me, Elias Monroe, was a ghost, a man running from a past that could get me killed. I'd fled New York 2 years ago, after my family's ties to a rival crime syndicate imploded, leaving me with nothing but a fake ID and a prayer that no one would find me. Chicago was my fresh start, my chance to vanish. Until Vincent walked into the club one night, all sharp suits and sharper eyes, and I realized disappearing wasn't an option when your heart refused to let go. Working at the Black Orchid was a calculated risk. The club was neutral ground, a place where Chicago's underworld came to drink, deal, and occasionally draw blood. I served drinks, kept my mouth shut, and learned to dodge the chaos until Vincent made it impossible. He was the head of the DeLuca family, a man who could order a hit with the same ease as ordering a scotch. Yet, every night, he'd sit at the bar, watching me with a quiet intensity that made my skin burn. I told myself it was just business, that he was sizing me up like he did everyone else. But then he started lingering, asking questions, small ones, like where I grew up, why I moved to Chicago. I fed him half-truths, each one a brick in the wall I built to keep him out. Because if he knew who I really was, the son of a rival family his clan had sworn to destroy, I'd be dead before dawn. That night, the club was a haze of cigarette smoke and low jazz, the kind of atmosphere that made secrets feel heavier. I was wiping down the bar when Vincent leaned closer than usual, his voice low, like velvet over steel. Eli, he said, my fake name sounding like a prayer on his lips. You ever think about running away from all this? My hand froze on the rag. For a second, I thought he knew I was a fraud, knew I was hiding. But his eyes were soft, almost vulnerable, and I realized he wasn't talking about my secrets. He was talking about his own. I run every day, I said, forcing a smile, deflecting. But I always end up back here, pouring your drink. He laughed, a sound so rare it felt like a gift, and something in me cracked. I wanted to tell him everything, my real name, my past, the way his presence made my chest ache with something I couldn't name. But I didn't. I couldn't. Instead, I poured him another whiskey and watched him sip it, his eyes never leaving mine. The night blurred on, the crowd thinning until it was just us and the hum of the city outside. Vincent stood, tossing $100 bill on the bar like it was nothing. Walk with me, he said, not a question but a command, softened by the way his fingers brushed mine as he handed me my jacket. I should have said no. Every instinct screamed it. But I followed him into the rain, into the alley, where the world felt smaller, just the two of us and the pulse of something dangerous. We didn't talk at first. The rain was loud, the city louder, but the silence between us was louder still. Then he stopped, turning to face me, his dark hair slick with water, his eyes searching mine. You're not like the others, Eli, he said. You don't belong here. My breath caught, fear and longing twisting together. Did he know? Was this the moment it all unraveled? But then he stepped closer, his hand grazing my jaw, and the world tilted. "I see you," he whispered, and before I could think, his lips were on mine. The kiss was fire and ruin, a collision of everything I'd been running from and everything I wanted. His hands were steady, pulling me closer, and for the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. But even as I kissed him back, my mind screamed the truth. Vincent didn't know me. Not really. And if he ever did, this whatever it was would end in blood. We stumbled back to his penthouse, a sleek fortress of glass and steel overlooking the city. The rain followed us, soaking the floor as we tore at each other's clothes, desperate and reckless. His hands were everywhere, mapping my skin like he was claiming it. And I let myself forget who I was, just for a moment. In his bed, with the city lights bleeding through the windows, I felt alive, wanted, seen. But then, as we lay tangled in the sheets, his breath warm against my neck, he whispered something that stopped my heart. "Elias," he said, soft and certain, my real name slipping from his lips like a secret he'd been holding all along. I froze, every muscle locking as the world crashed down. He knew. He'd known all along. And now, I was trapped naked, vulnerable, in the bed of a man who could destroy me with a single word. My heart was a traitor, pounding so loud I was sure Vincent could hear it. His arms were still around me, his breath steady against my skin. But the air in the room felt like it had turned to ice. "What did you say?" I managed, my voice barely a whisper, praying I'd misheard. Vincent shifted, propping himself up on one elbow, his dark eyes locking onto mine. "Elias Monroe," he said again, deliberate, like he was testing the weight of my name. "That's who you are, isn't it?" His tone wasn't accusing. Not yet. But there was an edge to it. A quiet storm brewing beneath the calm. I scrambled for a lie. But my mind was blank. Every carefully crafted story I'd told him unraveling like thread. "I don't know what you're talking about," I said, pulling the sheet tighter around me, as if it could shield me from the truth. But Vincent wasn't a man you could fool twice. He sat up, the city lights casting sharp shadows across his face, and I saw a flicker of hurt beneath the steel. "Don't," he said, his voice low but firm. "Don't lie to me. Not now." He reached for me, his hand hovering before dropping to the bed, like he wasn't sure I'd let him touch me anymore. "I've known for weeks. Elias. I had you checked out the first night you caught my eye. You think I'd let someone get close without knowing who they are?" My stomach churned. Weeks. He'd known for weeks. And I'd been playing a game I'd already lost. "Then why?" I swallowed, my throat dry. "Why didn't you say anything? Why let me stay?" He looked away, his jaw tight. And for the first time, I saw something raw in him, something unguarded. "Because I wanted you," he said simply, the words heavy with a truth I wasn't ready to hear. "I wanted you more than I wanted revenge." Revenge. The word hit like a bullet. My family, the Monroes, had been at war with the DeLucas for decades, a blood feud that had claimed lives on both sides. I'd been a kid when it all went down, too young to understand the deals and betrayals, but old enough to know my father's death was no accident. I'd run to escape the fallout, to escape the target on my back. But Vincent's world was small, and grudges were eternal. If he knew who I was, why was I still breathing? Vincent, I started, but he cut me off, his hand finally finding mine, his grip firm but not cruel. I don't care about your last name, he said, his voice fierce now. I don't care about the war, or your father, or any of it. I care about you. His thumb brushed over my knuckles, and I hated how much I wanted to believe him. But you need to tell me the truth, Elias. All of it. Because if you don't, I can't protect you. Protect me. The idea was laughable. Vincent DeLuca didn't protect people, he eliminated threats. But the way he looked at me, like I was worth more than his empire, made me want to spill everything. So I did. I told him about New York, about the night my family's warehouse went up in flames, about the screams and the gunfire and the way I'd run until my lungs burned. I told him about the fake ID, the years spent looking over my shoulder, the fear that had become my shadow. And I told him about the Black Orchid, how I'd taken the job to survive, never expecting to find him. By the time I finished, my voice was raw, and Vincent was silent, his hand still holding mine. You should have told me, he said finally, not angry, but heavy with something like regret. I could have kept you safe. Safe. I laughed. Bitter. From you. From your family. Vincent, I'm a Monroe. Your men would gut me if they knew. They won't, he said, his voice sharp now, commanding. They answer to me. And I'm not letting you go. His words hung between us, a promise and a threat. I wanted to believe him, but trust was a luxury I'd never had. Still, I let him pull me close, let his warmth anchor me as the city hummed outside. For one night, I let myself pretend we could outrun the past. But the past doesn't sleep. The next morning, I woke to an empty bed and a note on the pillow, stay here. I'll handle it. Handle what? My stomach dropped as I remembered the whispers I'd overheard at the club, rumors of a traitor in Vincent's ranks. Someone leaking secrets to a rival family. If Vincent was out there, chasing leads, he was walking into a trap. And if my name came up, if anyone else knew who I was, we were both dead. I threw on my clothes and slipped out of the penthouse, my heart racing as I headed for the Black Orchid. The club was quiet in the daylight, a ghost of its nighttime chaos. But the air felt wrong, heavy with the promise of blood. I found Marco, Vincent's second in command, in the back room, his face hard as he barked orders into a phone. When he saw me, his eyes narrowed. Eli, he said, my fake name dripping with suspicion. What the hell are you doing here? Where's Vincent? I asked, ignoring the way his hand hovered near his gun. Marco stepped closer, his voice low. You know something, don't you? About the leak. About who's been talking. I froze. He didn't know my real name not yet, but he was fishing, and I was out of lies. Before I could answer, the door burst open, and Vincent stormed in, his suit rumpled, his eyes wild. Elias, he said, and my blood ran cold. He'd used my real name. In front of Marco. Marco's hand was on his gun before I could blink, his eyes darting between me and Vincent. Elias, he repeated, the name a blade in the air. As in Monroe. Vincent stepped in front of me, his body a shield, His voice calm but deadly. Stand down. Marco. He's with me. With you. Marco's laugh was sharp. Bitter. He's a fucking Monroe. Vince. You know what his family did to us. To your brother. The room seemed to shrink. The weight of old wounds suffocating. I knew the story as me father's betrayal had cost Vincent's brother his life. A debt the DeLucas had never forgiven. I know who he is, Vincent said, his voice steady. But I could feel the tension in him. The way his hand twitched like he was ready to draw. And I'm telling you, he's not the enemy. Marco's face twisted. Disbelief and betrayal warring in his eyes. You're choosing him over us. Over family. He took a step closer. His gun half raised. And my heart stopped. This was the moment my past caught up with me. But Vincent was faster. In a blur, he had Marco pinned against the wall. The gun clattering to the floor. You don't get to decide this. Vincent growled. He's mine. You touch him. You die? The room was silent. The air thick with the threat of violence. Marco's eyes burned. But he nodded. Stepping back. You're making a mistake. Vince. He said. His voice low. This'll tear us apart. He walked out. Leaving me and Vincent alone. The weight of his words lingering like smoke. Vincent turned to me. His face softening. But I could see the strain. The cost of what he'd just done. You shouldn't have come here. He said. His voice quieter now. It's not safe. You said you'd handle it. I shot back. My fear turning to anger. But you didn't. You used my name. Vincent. You put a target on my back. I didn't mean to. He said. Stepping closer. His hands reaching for me. I flinched. And he stopped. Pain flashing in his eyes. I was trying to protect you. There's a traitor. Elias. Someone's been feeding intel to the gallows. And they're coming for us. For you. The gallows. Another rival family. One with no love for the Monroes or the DeLucas. If they knew I was here, hiding under Vincent's protection, they'd use me to destroy him. Then let me go? I said, my voice breaking. You don't need this. You don't need me. Vincent grabbed my shoulders. His grip firm. His eyes fierce. Don't you get it? I need you. I've spent my life building walls. Keeping people out. But you got through. I'm not losing you. Elias. Not to the gallows. Not to Marco. Not to anyone. His words broke something in me. The last of my defenses crumbling. I kissed him. Hard and desperate. Pouring everything I couldn't say into it, me fear. My love. My hope that we could survive this. He kissed me back. His hand steady. Grounding me in a world that felt like it was collapsing. We didn't have long. That night, the gallows hit the Black Orchid. The club erupted in chaos gunfire. Screams. Glass shattering as men in masks stormed in. Vincent pulled me behind the bar. His gun drawn. His body shielding mine. Stay down. He whispered. But I couldn't just hide. I grabbed a bottle. Smashing it against the counter. Ready to fight. The battle was brutal. A blur of blood and noise. Vincent was a force. Cutting through the chaos with a precision that terrified me as much as it awed me. But we were outnumbered. And I saw the moment he took a Haida bullet grazing his shoulder. Blood blooming on his shirt. I screamed his name. Lunging for him. But he pushed me back, his eyes fierce. Run, Elias. Now. I didn't. I couldn't. Instead, I fought beside him, my hands shaking but steady enough to swing. When the dust settled, the gallows were gone, their men dead or fled, and Vincent was still standing, bloodied but alive. Marco was there too, his face grim but loyal, and I realized he'd fought for us. Despite everything, we retreated to Vincent's penthouse, the city quiet now, like it was holding its breath. He sat on the couch, letting me clean his wound, his eyes never leaving mine. You stayed, he said, his voice soft, almost disbelieving. I couldn't leave you, I said, my hands trembling as I bandaged him. I love you, Vincent, even if it kills me. He pulled me close, his lips brushing my forehead. It won't, he said. We're done hiding. You're not a Monroe anymore. You're mine. And I'm yours. The war wasn't over. The gallows would come again, and Marco's loyalty was fragile. But in that moment, with Vincent's arms around me, I felt something I hadn't in years. Hope. We'd built something stronger than blood, stronger than vengeance. And no matter what came next, we'd face it together.